One.
What's happening, everybody? It is gonna get weird. It is the podcast. Frank Green, Scott Clark. You know it. If you stick around, it is gonna get weird. We have a very special guest today. You might know him from Days of the New. You might know him from Tantric. You might know him from the Louisville Crashers. You might know him from his new band. The man has been in so many bands. He ran out of bands to be in, so he joined a church band.
Successful bands.
All successful bands.
Enough success. Yeah, you could choke a donkey with all that success.
Currently number. Go ahead.
I was going to say that's the tricky part, is the successful part.
Right. It is. Well, you don't have any control over it.
Can I finish, guys? Jesus.
Sorry.
Oh, come on.
All right. Man. Currently number 7 on the rock album downloads. Very proud of me. In the new band Blisskrieg with their album Remedy that you can get on Facebook for free and check out their new song Inside Me. It's our friend, your friend, local legend, national touring bass player, the baddest man of the land, Jesse DeVest Ventura. Jesse Best. Jesse Best, everybody.
Yeah, I'm not quite so cool as Jesse Ventura, but I'm halfway there.
I would say you're probably a lot cooler than Jesse Ventura.
Well, I'm almost as crazy. So
well, at this point in his life, I'm saying.
And I know all three of us are conspiracy theorists, so we would fit right in with Jesse.
I am not a conspiracy theorist.
I really am not either. I'm kind of a skeptic, to be completely honest.
See, I think it's conspiracy with the two of you all against me right now.
Well,
listen, this is your intervention.
Too late, buddy. Too late, buddy. I'm already drinking 0 alcohol beer, my man.
Woo! Man, Jesse Whipple.
Coming in hot, son. Yeah. Coming in hot.
Man.
All right, Jesse, the first most serious question we have for you today. What is the difference between macrame and crochet?
I can maybe spell one of them.
I don't think I can spell either. It was a question we had last week on the podcast. We sat there and did 20 minutes. We called it hot crochet talk because we really couldn't figure out the difference. But yeah. I just thought it'd be a good lead-in question to make you laugh.
Well, you know, I know that you meant it as a joke, but when I was a kid, my Aunt Shirley taught me how to crochet.
That's awesome.
To sit and we would watch, I don't know, soap operas or whatever, and I would sit and I would crochet next to my Aunt Shirley. So
that's cool.
Thank you, Aunt Shirley. So now is that the crocheting is when you do the rope? I can't believe we're getting into this. The rope thing where you make like a plant holding basket thing.
Crochet is when you like make a quilt or like a blanket or a throw, you know, or mittens. You know, like women knit mittens.
Hang on.
And
Jesse crocheted. What is crochet?
Well, I mean, it's basically child labor because that's what I was doing.
Yeah.
He was like, "Come on, we need these rugs. Get busy."
I think everybody who's a child of someone who can crochet a little bit because you get sucked in. You know, your mom's like, "Come here, hold this ball of yarn." You're like, and then then you realize it's kind of cool because it's really, you know, there's a rhythm to it. So, you know, it's cool.
Crochet talk. It happened again.
Wow.
Thank you, Aunt Shirley.
Yeah.
I blame your Aunt Shirley.
But
well, listen, my Aunt Shirley's a saint, so you better just watch your mouth.
Whoa. Trust me. No, Jesse's not. If you all don't know Jesse that are just now listening, Jesse's not someone to mess with. Period. Probably verbally or physically.
Wu-Tang Clan ain't nothing to fuck with either. And neither is Jesse. And neither is Jesse.
So, dude, how's it going? I mean, you got all this going on. You're doing it, as far as I can see, it's all grassroots. You did it all yourselves. You're not doing it the regular way that you've done it in the past. How does it feel to kind of have that freedom?
It's amazing. I mean, to be honest, it was done kind of out of necessity. You know, I mean, because when we were talking about doing the project, none of us, well, you guys know, like I've got the Crashers, which let's just say pre-pandemic kept me very busy. Now, not so much. You know, we're kind of looking forward to building back up here. But
you're doing live at Mom's right now.
Right. But because we all were sort of entwined with these other projects in our lives, the last thing that we really wanted to do was to commit to some sort of big obligation. You know, if you go to a record company, sign a contract with them, they're going to help you make a record and they're going to help you promote it, but they're going to expect you to go out and tour for the next freaking 18 months of your life. And I'm not about that life. I'm the best thing about the Crashers is I can show up, I can play a gig, I can make decent money, and I can be back in my own bed usually within an hour, because we stay, for the most part, we stay pretty close to home. I rarely have to sleep in a hotel room.
As you get older, that really takes up a lot of space in your heart and your head, where you're like that narrows your decision path really. I'm not willing to endure that anymore.
Well,
needlessly.
Yeah, living, especially in the early days of a project, if you want to live on the road with, let's just say, 4 dudes in the band, you get a driver, you got a guitar tech, whoever. Let's say you got 8 people in a van. You're smelling everybody's farts. There's nowhere comfortable to sleep. It's not a fun existence when you're in your 40s like I am. It's awesome when you're 20. I mean,
it's a young man's game.
Hell, I didn't like it when I was in my 20s. We bought a conversion van. It still smelled like farts, but we had a nice conversion van with captain's chairs and NBA Jam, Nintendo, VC Aura. We had a TV.
Yeah, but it's easy. It's easy to talk into. It's easy to talk kids into doing crazy stuff like that and sticking with it for an endless amount of time, just because it's a young man.
And I think people think it's a party. They think all it is a party. They forget about the work they got to do and the responsibility that they have, certainly at that age. And some people at our age don't forget about the responsibility part.
Well, when we were, you guys know, when we were Days of the New, that was the first project. It was all of our first project. And responsibility did not enter our vocabulary. I mean, we recorded the album. I was still in high school, and went right out on the road. And
how old were you all?
Well, literally, as soon as I graduated high school, I was on the road, and I was the oldest one in the band. So, not to throw anybody under the bus here, but Matt and Travis, neither one of those guys graduated.
Neither did I. It's all right.
Yeah, I know a lot of people more successful than I have that didn't graduate. It's the way it turns out. Did you guys hear that?
Which part? Did you fart?
No, my phone or my computer here just made a weird noise. I want
to make sure. Didn't hear it at all, and wouldn't care if you did. Not that kind of thing. So you were saying back when you were Days of the New.
Well, yeah. I mean, we didn't think about accountability. We didn't think about responsibility. We didn't think about work. We didn't think of it as work, because basically all we did was play some songs, get drunk, and fight. That's all we ever did. And
ladies and gentlemen, Oasis.
Well, yeah, maybe a slightly, not slightly, a less successful version of Oasis. Let's call it that.
But Jesse, I can't imagine. I mean, I remember what I was like when I was 18 and 19. I mean, I'm not that much older. I'm 51. I can't imagine getting all that and being in that, what do you call it? In that environment when I'm 18 or 19. I can't imagine how I would have reacted to it or what I would have done. So, I mean, it's really, I mean, I'm serious. It's really a big deal that you all are actually still around.
Everybody's alive.
Right. But it's a lot early is what I'm saying.
It's very much a lot. And, I actually, in the last, let's call it, in the last 2 years, I've had several conversations of this nature with my own children. And I've talked to them about, because I don't want to sound ungrateful in the least. Days of the New was a great experience. And then after that, and we did Tantric. Tantric was a great experience. I've been very blessed in my life in a lot of ways. But what did happen was there was this real, like almost tangible sense of arrested development. So, when I left, I was almost 30 when I left Tantric, and I found myself with no marketable skill set. I found my like literally everybody I graduated high school with, you know, they had spent the last decade working on their career, and I came out of the music business completely ready to be done with the music business, but I had no. Arrested Development was the best way I could think of it. Like, it's that line from the Pink Floyd song, "No one told you when to run, you missed the starting gun."
Yes.
I missed the starting gun, and so I've been telling my kids over the last couple of years, don't miss. You guys allowed to
Those
cuss on here?
years. Oh yeah.
All right, don't miss the fucking starting gun.
Yeah.
All right, the gun is firing right now. Don't piss away this opportunity, because you really can build, you know, the rest of your life on the foundation you lay right now. So I missed out on a chance to lay that foundation. I'm not going to say I regret it. I'm just going to say I had a different kind of a life because of it.
Right. And you know, and when you say the starting gun, as at 18, man, you're just starting to live. It's like your nostrils get bigger and your lungs get bigger, and you're like, let's go. You know what I mean? And for a certain amount of time, young men, you know, typically when they're not in your situation, you just kind of, you know, it's like you take part in being young. You don't think about being a real adult like your parents. You just go, let me be young for 5 or 6 years and then I'll be fine.
You know, you get the keys to the candy store. It's hard not to eat fucking candy. I've never handled it as good as I possibly could. And I always look back in hindsight. I could have done this better. I could have done that better. But I mean, I hate people when they say stuff like this. You are who you are at that time. You know, and as long as you live and you grow, and I mean, geez, look at you, man. You're successful with what you're doing. You've done your 3rd project where you're making something happen. You've supported your wife and your kids for 4th project. Yeah, I'm sorry, 4th project. You know, you've done this all on your own. So I mean, don't sell yourself short. I mean, you're a wonderful man that people should look up to. So don't ever think. And I mean, I guess you got to be in some way wear that as a badge on your chest that I was able to do this and survive. And we're probably at least the most stable person in the band.
Are you
I don't know
applying
about
for
that.
the job of my hype man? You're just going to walk around, follow me around, and talk about how cool I am?
Absolutely. Only if
I
I
need
get
somebody to do that.
Only if I get to hold a jam box with a CD playing songs from the Red album.
Oh my!
Just
if you could
people
throw,
be like, hey man, he's not on that album. That's Mike Udig.
We'll get you to throw, you know, glitter and scarves like Rip Taylor.
Hey everybody! Blah blah.
Guy hitting the snare drum.
It's so awesome. You know, that reminds me. I mean, a lot of people. We don't have to go through it. Excuse me. You did say you were going to do a chat the other night, and I'm sure you did. I'm sure it was fantastic. But you said, you know, don't talk politics, and we really try not to do that too much. And we're not going to talk about that. But you said you were open to talk about anything. Everyone knows the story about, you know, kind of the breakup or the demise of Days of the New. But, you know, I do not know what happened with Tantric in the end. I think you left first. I really don't know the story, and I think a lot of people want to know. At least I do.
Well,
and if you don't want to talk about something, that's fine too.
I'm totally fine talking about it. Forgive me if I am intentionally vague at certain points in the story. But I did leave Tantric.
And this is from your point of view, obviously.
Yes.
Okay.
To be honest, the reason that I left Tantric, the problem was not Tantric. The problem was me within my own life. I was having some family issues that needed addressed, and I felt like if I stayed in the band, I would fail in other areas of my life that I knew needed to be more important.
It was gambling, wasn't it? It was gambling.
No, I'm not a gambler, but it's well, let's just say I took a gamble on my first wife.
Right. You should have taken the gamble on bum fight betting.
That's actually
that would have been a safer bet.
That's actually how we met, was through your ex-wife and my ex-girlfriend. And that was, I swear to God, I think you were 17, maybe 18 tops when I first met you. And I swear to God, I feel like I was an old man at the time, but what are you, 45?
I'm 43 at the moment. Yeah.
43. Oh, well, you are a little you're younger than I thought.
I met Jesse at Larry Root's shop in
Larry
Charlestown.
Root. Larry Root,
Root and
Charlestown.
Hey,
Listen, it was
I know
man,
exactly what he's talking about.
in that like little horseshoe or what, like little pull-in thing there, and you lived across the parking lot, and Larry was closing his. I was over there. I had special ordered something that Ear Ecstasy couldn't get. And I was over there talking to Larry, and you came over. He goes, "Oh, you know Jesse from Days of the New." He goes, "He lives right over here." And then you walked in. You said, "Hey, Larry," and he's like, "Hey, what's up?" And we all started talking about basses. And you went home and got one of your basses. It was one of those. You're like, "Let me show you this bass," and it was like I think it was like one of those really good Czech Spectres. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean because it's still got it in a case over here right beside me.
Oh, wow!
The
It's
first
the
one.
same one. Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy.
I got my first guitar too, man.
But I just thought, what a random way to meet a dude. You know what I mean? It's like an enigmatic, one-off. And it was crazy.
I cannot believe that you just brought up Root and Roll.
Oh yeah.
That place, everybody talks about Ear Ecstasy, and rightly so, but nobody talks about Root and Roll. It was the coolest little place, man.
It was.
Nobody knew about it because it was over here in Indiana, so, but yeah, Larry was a very nice guy to me. And back in the day, I did live right across the parking lot. I actually lived in a small one-room apartment that was built on the back of his house.
Oh, right on.
And I traveled, of course, at that point, I was traveling all the time.
Right.
And I was living out of a storage unit. Well, what I mean is all of my crap was in a storage unit.
Right.
Whenever I would get a break from the road, I'd come home, I'd stay in a hotel or at somebody's house or whatever. And
Pick
all
what
my
you
stuff
need.
would stay in, yeah.
Yeah.
So, but Larry was like, "Man, I got this apartment over here. I'll rent it to you cheap." I was like, "Well, how cheap is cheap?" He said, $200 a month. I was like, "Dude," I handed him $1,200 right then. I said, "I want that apartment for the next 6 months."
Sweet.
So I lived there. It was great living there. I love Larry. I miss him.
Yeah.
The first.
He was a good guy. And that was a really when I say old school record shop, in the fact that everything was all in your face, and there was so much of it, and it was such kind of a small space. It was like it overwhelmed you. It looks like something from the old days. It's like, this is a record shop.
Yeah, it very much so. It was very eclectic, and that was back in the day when it was almost like he intentionally curated the things that he kept in his store, and you always knew you're going to find something good in his shop.
Yeah.
And he probably hated selling it.
Oh yeah.
But he liked to share it. He liked
cool
turning
too.
people on to music.
There's a reason that I could never ever own a bookstore or a record store, and that's because I never owned a
No, you can't buy it. It's like the guy at the yard sale.
It was
It's like
just
won't let it. No.
Just
Watch
closed.
out.
No suit for you. No
Yeah,
suit
just-
for you.
I paid $13 for this in 1978. Well, it's $1 today.
Yeah, just a closed sign all day, every day.
I'll give you a quarter. Nobody wants one chopstick.
All right. Can I nerd out a little, Scott? You mind?
Oh, but let me lead you into this because I've been saving this just so you all can nerd out because I knew this was going to happen. First, I wanted to ask you, Jesse, do you ever sing harmony? I don't think I've ever seen you sing on stage. Not a singer. He's shaking his head.
Here's the thing. There's a story to this because my whole life I never, ever sang. But in 2019, after about a decade,
I saw this. I know what you're going to say. Go ahead, please.
After about a decade of being, constantly harassed and harangued by Mark Maxwell, but that I was the only crasher
Never
who
heard of
didn't
him.
Sing.
Yes.
There's 6 guys in the band, 5 of them sing. I never sang. So in 2019, I made it my mission to do my best to learn how to sing. And I sang on stage, and then God released a plague on the world so that all live venues would shut down and I would not be able to sing anymore. So I think I took my hint when that happened.
That's awesome. Actually, I think somebody posted a video of it. I saw it. And you know what? You're not half bad, my man. You're not half bad. Now, as a kid that started playing drums the first thing I ever did was play drums, and I sang, and I was in the choir, all that kind of stuff. And then I started playing guitar when my parents got divorced. I've never understood why somebody starts playing bass. It's 4-string. You're not getting chick. You know, you're not going to play the girls at the party's favorite song on bass. I guess that's probably my thinking more than anybody. Why did you both? And I've known you both for a long time. Why did you start playing bass in bands instead of guitar? Frank, I'll go with you first.
Well, I learned how to play the guitar. I mean, when I say play the guitar, as much as any 12 or 13-year-old kid learns to play the guitar back then, you learn an E chord, you learn a bar chord, you learn A, you learn how to play the D or the C, and you're good. It's all bar chords, you know. But the moment a friend of mine had a bass, and he said, hey, you know, he wanted me to help him. There's something going on with his amp. So I was playing, and he was like messing with the knobs. It felt perfect. I was like, oh, this feels perfect. I mean, just in my hand, the tension, the size of the strings, it was just a little bit, not more muscular. That's not it's a little bit more physical of an instrument. At least I find it to be. And yeah, it vibrated. And the vibration was, to me, was like, oh, okay. That transferred, that activated more in my brain than, you know, a ripping, you know, guitar chord, like distorted from the, you know, from the 80s, wow, doing all that. It wasn't my thing. But when shit vibrated, or when I vibrated something, it was a whole different feeling. And I was like, oh, this is where I need to be. Or at least in, you know, for that part of my life, absolutely. Good Lord.
I think
It was inseparable from
that is sweet. That's a very sweet way of hearing. I never knew that story. Now we've known each other forever. Jesse, what made you go to? You got a whole band full of people playing acoustic guitars. Why did you choose bass?
Well, I chose bass. It's a very short answer, and then maybe I can elaborate a little bit. But I chose bass because when I was a kid, my cousin David, my Aunt Shirley's boy, by the way, my cousin David.
And Shirley, God damn it.
My cousin David played Kill 'Em All for me by Metallica, and the bass solo, Anesthesia Pulling Teeth. I'd never heard a sound like that. And I was just completely blown away by it, even at such a young age. And
just hearing it without seeing him do it and knowing what kind of sorcery that was.
Exactly. So I mean, at that point, I was probably, I want to say I was probably 8 or 9.
Wow.
When I heard that for the first time, and I had never seen a bass. I didn't know anybody who played bass. I didn't even really know what a bass was. I just read the word on the back of the record, and I heard them say bass solo take 1. And from that moment on, I wanted to be a bass player.
Right on.
Now, as luck or fortune or misfortune would have it, I did not turn out to be a bass player like Cliff Burton. I am not
no.
I am not a, you know, point at Jesse and have him do a bass solo. That's not the way that I play. I'm a meat and potatoes player, but I still love the bass. You know, my dad was a bluegrass fan, and he
love bluegrass.
He strummed like acoustic guitar, and he tried to get me to play banjo, and I played a little bit when I was around 10-ish. I don't really remember much about playing banjo, but I guess technically it was probably my first instrument. But bass really has always been where it's at. I can play a little guitar. I can play some drums. Bass is it always just really felt like home. Not trying to be too cheesy about it, but I felt like a groove that I fit into very well. And let me tell you, Scott, you opened this whole conversation up by saying you didn't understand why somebody would play bass. That's because you're Scott Clark. Let me tell you, Scott Clark was not born to be a bass player.
No, and
on any planet.
No, and I'll agree with you 100% because when I did like demos, and I still do them, I play the bass parts, and I always thought it because I could play guitar. Well, shit, it's just the first 4 strings one at a time. This is easy. And then and somewhere down the line, I realized, okay, it's really not just root notes. Otherwise, you're just a guitar player playing the guitar part on bass. I 100% realized it. Then I realized later on, I was like, oh, after listening to some John Paul Jones and actually getting into bass, knowing that I would never be a bass player, just like you said. It's more about when you rest than when you play. It has playing the note is just as important as when that note stops on a bass.
Yeah.
Something I can't do. And then
Silence.
and not to blow them in the closet. But then I was in a band with Frank Green, and I realized, because I'd been in bands with many bass players, but then I was like, so that's what playing bass, and that's how that's done. And then you get the right drummer with Frank, and we had 3 or 4 that were really good, or 3 actually that were really good with Frank. And I was like, oh my God, that's what a pocket is. That's what a bass player and a drummer can do. And then I found out that, oh my God, on guitar, I can be part of this pocket. And it was one of my favorite things when we would get in that, just the 3 of us. Sean was playing his part, the singer was doing his part, me, Frank, and whichever drummer, Donnie, Billy, Scott, any of them, I would hit that pocket and go, that to me was the greatest feeling in the world when somebody goes, oh, are you the rhythm guitar player? Like, no, man, I'm the guitar player. Sean plays solos, I play solos, but I'm not offended at all being called a rhythm guitar player because that is an art in itself. So really I agree with you 100%. I am not a bass player.
You were never in that pocket.
Hey man, it was my pocket. It was my own. Sorry, I was in my own pocket.
No, it's sold out. No admittance.
Drugs were in the pocket.
Sorry,
all right, Frank. I want to let you all nerd out because you're both, bass players. You're very successful in what you do, and you're both fantastic bass players. So, Frank, I think you have a few questions. Yeah, go, ladies and gentlemen. Turn it over to Frank Green.
I'm not gonna take over the whole podcast.
No, I'm gonna jump in here. You know me, but I do have to go piss. So you all start this.
Oh my God! But how did you start to play? What turns you on besides, I would imagine Maiden stuff like that.
Definitely in there, yeah. To be completely honest, I may never, I fell in love with the bass at a very early age.
Mm-hmm.
I may never have fully pursued that passion and really sort of fulfilled that as a life calling if I didn't grow up with Travis and Matt.
Oh, right on.
Who Travis Meeks, Matt Tall, the singer, guitar player, and the drummer for Days of the New. We all grew up in the same very small town in Indiana. And if I had not grown up in such close proximity to them and their just amazing gifts, I may have just sort of walked away. It may have been a fad that I went through when I was a kid, just like I wanted to be a fucking astronaut when I was 6.
Right.
It might have turned into, I wanted to be a bass player when I was, 9.
Right.
So to be honest, like Travis got his guitar on the same day that I got my bass. We got him for Christmas the same year.
Okay.
And we started playing together, and Travis, I've never had a problem saying this. Travis is probably the most talented person I've ever been around, as far as just raw talent, sheer talent.
Yeah.
And he was right. He was like that from the beginning. Like, he picked things up so quickly, and he and I learned to play together and off of each other, and pretty much, not immediately, but very soon after, Matt, who had already been playing for a couple of years before we ever picked anything up, he came into the picture, and it all just sort of happened. So, it was Iron Maiden, it was Metallica, and in that day and age, it was also Guns N' Roses, and it was Cinderella, and it was like, basically, the music like that really sort of lit our fire. But at very early age, the whole thing kind of transmogrified into this thing where we are all.
Don't be using big words like that. I don't even know what that means.
Transmogrified? We just go back to the bathroom and look it up on your phone while we talk.
I'll be right back, folks.
Yeah, the adults are talking, Scott.
Anyway, I guess I forgot what I was saying exactly, but
you said he transmogrified.
Yeah, transmogrified.
Get where you're at.
Now we've said it 4 times, and I probably used it wrong.
About you starting to play bass, and all these influences, and Travis, and all that.
We were so young that it really became less about being a cover band and more about being an original act very quickly.
Right.
I mean, it was very little time that we were practicing other people's music.
Right.
It was just like almost immediately we started writing and attempting to record our
Right.
own ideas, and it started, you know, very, very young. So if that had not happened, I may have not have turned into the lifelong bass player that I've been.
I want to jump in real quick if you can continue, Frank. But I've always wondered, why was it all acoustic? What how did that come about?
Well, it wasn't. I'll just say that the Days of the New started around 1990s, early 1996. It was the same lineup, but we were called something else before that. We were called Dead Reckoning.
Dead Reckoning, baby.
Dead Reckoning, and it was the heaviest of the heavy, man. It was full on electric guitars. It was full on Matt Tall being Matt Tall on the drums. It was heavy, you know.
It was the music of that time. In you know, it was heavy. It was like the heavy metal resurgence.
It was,
Hey, people don't play in Charlestown. They don't fuck around up there.
Well, it was early '90s metal. So the influences, if you could imagine, you're talking Prong and Tool and Pantera, and you know, of course, Metallica. Metallica never left the fucking CD player. So
Right.
Never heard of them.
It was very heavy for a long time, and the transition, to be honest, I went kicking and screaming. You know,
Right.
there's a reason that the Days of the New album has an electric bass on it and not an acoustic bass. It's because
Right.
I literally, I mean, almost physically fought the record label to keep that feel and to keep that, because listen,
That foot in the other court. You got to, you know, you got one foot in the gold and one fist in the gutter. You had to do that.
One foot in the grave and one on a banana peel.
Right. I mean,
yeah.
you had to do that.
It really, to this day, when I listen to the Days of the New record, which is not often, but when I do, I realize that if we had some acoustic bass, you know, via like Violent Femmes or something, that sort of
Right.
acoustic bass, it would have lacked the balls that it needed to make it feel like a rock band, especially when we started playing the stuff live.
Right.
I mean, could you imagine the freaking set of cojones on us when we're going up opening for Metallica and two of our guitar players have acoustic guitars and they don't switch them out? You know what I mean?
Right.
So,
I mean-
and the bass, the electric bass, coupled with Matt Tall on the drums, was what was able to keep us in the rock world.
Yeah.
you know?
The rhythm section as a whole, I felt like that there was two separate. I mean, just hearing the band when it started, that record, it my brain processed it with two sides. When I say two sides, the electric side and the acoustic side, the rock band side and the acoustic guitar side. I mean, I know they're part of one and the same, but I heard both, and I was like, that's a cool sound.
I never thought of it as an acoustic band anyway. I always saw it just as a rock
didn't either.
band that played acoustic.
I
And it had a sound that no one else had. And you think, how many people followed you all and tried to do the same thing? Obviously not to the same success.
but
Well,
quite a few.
But we were following people too.
Right.
You
I
know?
mean, but it's just perspective.
It's all perspective, and one thing is always following the other thing, even if the previous thing doesn't get credit. You know,
Right.
There would have been no Days of the New if there was not a Alice in Chains Jar of Flies.
Right.
That's just the way.
That's
it was.
fair. That's fair.
That's absolutely, yeah. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
Now, Jesse, what I was going to ask you, and you said, and it kind of popped up, you said that, you and Travis had this way of playing when you all started to play together and learning to play together, and this way of, kind of in and out of each other as a player, kind of putting your personal aside. Did you find yourself missing that when you moved on? That kind of connection with another player? Because I found that when I play with somebody that I really love to play with, and then all of a sudden I can't play with them anymore, whether they're dead or whatever. I mean, it's like, you mourn that. I'm serious. It's you mourn that connection or that thing with somebody musically. Yeah.
Well, so in this specific instance, if we're talking about Travis Meeks, which let me just say for the record that Travis and I are friends now. or as close friends as anybody can be with Travis Meeks.
Right.
You know, we text each other back and forth, and I feel like he's on a good path. So I don't want to say anything bad about Travis at all. When Days of the New split up and Travis went his way, and then Matt and Todd and myself went the other way and formed Tantric, there definitely was a musical void because I had been so accustomed to playing with Travis. I would say almost even more so than that, there was a
Just an empty space in the
let's
room.
just call it, for lack of a better word, let's call it an emotional void. Because Travis was literally like my little brother all growing up. I mean, I've known him so long.
Right.
I mean, we were in elementary school when we met. So to all of a sudden not ever talk to him for years,
right,
it was a bit of a transition emotionally, and it also, of course, musically was much different. But as I was just saying, so it was me, Matt, and Todd that left Days of the New to form Tantric. So at least I got to carry some of that foundation with me. So I still had Matt, I still had Todd, who by that point I was very comfortable playing with Todd, and we had sort of, especially because we were still so young. You know, I think about, you know, we leaving Days of the New. I mean, I was barely old enough to drink, you know, when I walked away from Days of the New. So we were still so young, and your mind and your musical sensibilities are still so pliable at that age. That
pliable. I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
Pliable. I'm going to write a list of words for you.
Please
Scott.
give me a thesaurus next time, or maybe it's a syllabus of the words you're going to use. So
hold on. This is a guy who asked me 3 weeks ago, do you prefer reading books or magazines?
But you're lucky I even read a damn magazine. So I've always wanted this, because the old story that I got at the radio station was Travis's dad, God rest his soul, I guess, I really don't know, convinced Travis to fire all of you all and then take all the money and get a whole new surrogate band. That was what I was told.
Okay. I mean, I that's a common story that I've heard. I would say that there's a lot of truth in what you just said, but I would say it's largely out of order. You know, Gary talked Travis into stealing the money before the band even got going. So it wasn't a sort of a precursor of us leaving the band. Travis already had all the money, and
it was doomed from the start in regards to business.
Yeah.
And yeah.
So
I have no idea what that's like either.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's the music business. People never get screwed in the music business,
right? Especially brothers who or people related who kind of walk the same path.
Buck, I got to ask you all a question. I've been playing this game with my in-laws. It's been a long time with my in-laws, by the way.
I'm not playing Uno on the Zoom.
I'm not doing it. Draw 4, Frank.
Okay, right on.
No, they had a question on this game. I can't even think of what it's called. It's more about math and statistics and things like that. And one of the questions was, out of every $1,000 that a band makes, or out of record sales, for every $1,000 out of record sales, how much does the lead guitar player make out of $1,000? And I got the closest. I was barely off.
700, probably 150, maybe 100.
30.
It was 28. It was 28. And I think I said 30 something because I was thinking about a certain person. I'm there because you all.
Did you say 1,000 or 7,000?
No, it's $1,000.
Okay, never mind.
Yeah. So I said 28. You were the closest, Jesse. And I was amazed. I was, and everybody in the room was like, "What?" I'm like, "Oh yeah." Generally, you make a dollar on. I mean, you make 10 cents on every dollar, and then you got to pay back the record company for the time of the tour bus, the pressing of the album, the everything. Go ahead.
I think you're getting ahead of your cart ahead. You know, of the horse. You got to just look at it. Just before anything happens, before any other thing happens, you got to pay your manager, you got to pay your accountant, you got to pay an agent,
taxes,
an agent. Listen, and then an agent once they're cut on top of that. If you got a booking agent, and then you start looking at splits, and then everybody gets 5 ways or 4 ways or whatever. And that really is, you know, $100,000 advance turns into, you know, $6,000 a piece.
You're on that stage, so you're a millionaire. That's what everyone seems to think. When I told my family what the actual numbers were, they were like, "What?" And I was like, "Well, I have a specific number that I know from some friends of mine, and I kind of know how it was split up." They couldn't believe it.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Well, and it's changed so much. Like the deck has always been stacked against the artist. I think now, you know, musicians are by nature, not all of them, but largely by nature, they are not business savvy. They are artists, and they are people who are creative, and they don't really want to think about the business of it. And I've been guilty of it myself. I try to keep a closer eye these days. But it's always been stacked against you.
Yeah.
And, you know, to get back to what you were talking about, Scott, with Days of the New, you know, we're far enough removed now that I don't really feel like I'm stepping on any toes by saying this. Travis was when we actually put pen to paper and signed the record deal. Travis was the only one who was still technically a minor. So, because of that, he had to have his father as a co-signer to be able to engage in a legal document like that. Gary told the record company he would not sign the document unless Travis was the sole artist on the contract, and the rest of us would be set aside as hired guns and would be a separate contract under Travis. So from the get-go, Gary, now listen, Gary, he's been dead for years now, and Gary's another guy I don't necessarily want to speak badly about, but when I found out what happened, it hit me like a truck, man, because when I was growing up, I grew up with my mom, and I didn't see my dad very much. And Gary was a guy, like if we were all going to go to the public swimming pool there in Charlestown, which is probably a bad idea in hindsight.
Look out for the needles.
But if we were all going to go to the public swimming pool in Charlestown and everybody needed $1 to get in, Gary knew I didn't have a damn dollar, so he'd give me $1. Right. You know, like he was a caring person in my life, sort of a good male role model.
Right.
Maybe not in all ways, but you know, I really thought that he liked me and cared about me. And so when I found out that he did that, it really shook my world up, man.
Yeah.
That was another, you know, we were talking about that word emotional. That was an emotional blow for me.
Right.
That it took me a long time to recover from.
Yeah. It's almost like getting knocked out by family, you know, at that point.
Hey, that sounds like Thanksgiving.
Your grandma beat you up again?
No, my great grandmother.
I'm trying to get him to read a book.
Her name is Shirley too.
You got to look out for those Shirleys, man.
Now, do you find it easier the way they? Well, hang on, man. What are you sipping on, man? I know it's some bourbon. What do you got tonight?
This is my go-to, which is Four Roses small batch.
My man, 94 proof, made in Lawrenceburg, Kentucky. Come on, man. You know what I do for a living.
Is that a little spicy?
Ask him. He's drinking it, but I can tell you. Go ahead. How do you feel about it?
I would say that for the money, it's the best bourbon for the money. It's not too anything. Mm-hmm. It sort of sits right in the middle of the road, which is where I like it. I don't want that too spicy or too much heat or too much strong, you know. And of course I stay away from the Scotch because I'm not a fan of the smoky stuff. But this, for the money, you know, when I don't have you know any more children to sell to get a bottle of Blanton's these days, I will go with the Four Roses small batch, and I enjoy it a lot.
Yeah, they basically take I want to say it's 10 different yeast strains, and small batch is made out of 6 of those strains. The yellow is all of them, and of course the single barrel is a single barrel. So small batch is probably my favorite Four Roses as well. So I'm glad not that we're doing a whole thing about bourbon, but I mean I saw you sipping on some. I had to find out what you were doing.
Yeah, Frank, I was under the impression you were going to be the nerd tonight. And all of a sudden, Scott turned into the nerd.
Oh, he's the booze nerd.
Yep, for damn sure.
There's no doubt about it. It's like he's like, oh, this is a tequila. This is there. It's made by who? I'm like, I don't care. 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 I mean, it's cool. I mean, it's you obviously do your job well, and being thorough is everything, and that's great.
It helps, man. You should have heard me today selling wine, baby.
The first time I heard you go into your spiel, I'm like, well, I guess he found his fucking niche.
And imagine that. And the niche probably almost killed me, too.
Well, I mean, there's a fine line between laying down and let the niche cut you in half.
All right, we haven't said anything fun. I mean, we've laughed at each other, but we haven't even had anything funny yet. And I told Jesse what the first question we generally ask on the podcast, but 2 weeks in a row we didn't, because we like to set a nice little positive start to the podcast. And we always ask the same question. What's the funniest shit that happened to you or you saw, or social media or out in the world, whatever it was? What's the funniest shit you saw this week, man?
Okay, so you're going to be disappointed in this answer. Because here's the thing. I can tell
Way to sell it.
Well, I like to under-promise and over-deliver. So I can tell you what I laughed at. I can't really tell you the exact story, but I can tell you, let me ask you this. You guys ever heard of a phone app called Marco Polo?
No, but I like this story already.
Mm-hmm.
Well, all right. So this is like a video messaging app that you can create groups of people where it's almost like text messaging, but you hit this button and it's got a video image of you and you say whatever the hell you want to say, and then you hit the button again and it stops the message, and then that person or that group of people get that video of you saying the message, and it's just a private thing. It's a cool app. I'm not getting paid to talk about it, but I use it a lot. And one of the groups that I have is the Blisskrieg group. So me, Matt, Donald, and Todd. And Scott, when's the last time you hung out with Matt Tall?
At Todd Whitener's bachelor party at Sluggerfield.
Oh, okay, I was there.
I know you were.
Yeah. So people don't know this about Matt. All right, there are funny people in the world. Like Scott's a funny person. I've got several people who are funny in my life who make me laugh, and they make me laugh because they're intentionally trying to make me laugh. Matt Tall is the person in my life who makes me laugh constantly, and he's never trying. He's just being himself. And so, my answer to the question of what made me laugh this week, or what was the funniest thing I saw, it was Matt telling a story, a very detailed story about a bathroom experience that he had. And I won't go into any more detail than that, but just suffice it to say that I basically thought I was going to die. I could not breathe for a solid 5 minutes. It had me floored, and so you got to have people like that in your life that make you laugh.
Yeah, this is exactly why Frank and I do a podcast. I don't know why Frank does a podcast with me, but that's exactly why I do a podcast with him, because he makes me cry every time I talk. Hey, quiet! I'll knock you out, dog.
I think that dog could take you.
I think Venus will definitely take me. That little 28-pound pug. She needs to go to the bathroom. Frank, what was the funniest thing that happened to you this week?
I don't think anything funny's happened this week.
I know, it's been kind of weird, right?
Yeah. I've gotten some laughs watching TV, but that's about it. There's nothing funny.
I got two things. One happened, well, actually, both of them happened today. So I had one of my, a guy I know, I don't like to talk about really too much about what I do. I had a guy I know, and he's Cuban, and he's got not too thick of a Cuban accent, but it's definitely pronounced. You can tell. You can definitely tell where he's from, man. Do you know what I mean? And he asked me to get him something from, let's say you wanted some sort of spirit. Let's make it that easy. And all I got was entuparo Jean beans. Like the first name lady Jean and then beans. Like green beans, but Jean beans. And I was like, what the fuck is he? I have no idea what he wants.
Everybody wants Jean beans.
So
Jean bean, man.
I texted him back. I was like, what the fuck is Jean beans? And he goes, Juno.
Jim Beam.
Juno, man, the stuff you used to drink in here all the time. And I was like, oh, Jim Beam is what you want. Oh, I get it now. I get Gene Beans. Oh, okay. And that's when I realized that Siri is fucking racist. Because he was using the Siri app to spell, to text it out. Because he was putting, he had a long list of stuff he wanted. And so, and the last thing it said, and 2 bottles Gene Beans. And I was like, what the fuck is Gene Beans? And I tell the story right to the guy. We already had a laugh about it. I mean, I've known the guy for a long time. He's hilarious. The other funny thing is today I got to wear a suit. I haven't gotten to dress up. I mean, I go to work and I, polo shirt or some sort of pullover or something like that. But today I kind of had to go around and meet some people, and I had to wear a suit.
Save it for therapy, Scott. Save it for therapy.
I was so happy this morning. Got showered up, put on my special V-neck T-shirt, got my new shirt on. Oh yeah, got the suit out. It's hanging up in the rack with all my other 3 suits. Yeah, I got a bunch of suits. And I put it on. I get ready. I look in the mirror. I get my little pocket square. I'm looking good, son. Get my hair fixed up. Out the door on time. Cup of coffee. Get to the place perfectly. I'm 15 minutes early, motherfucker. I'm having a good day. Sitting there texting on my phone, getting some work done, waiting on this guy to show up to where we're meeting. And I looked down at my pants. I was like, what the fuck is on my pants? And I was like, what is on that pants? Why is there shit all the way down the inside of my pants? It's on my jacket too. Little brown. It literally looked like I was eating Skyline chili and accidentally just went and dumped it on my chest, and it went down everywhere. I was like, what? How did I not know? I mean, it was kind of dark this morning, but it's like, how did I not notice this morning? And I was like, I don't know what the fuck I was doing the last time I wore this suit, but apparently I put it up with shit all over it.
You don't have your suit cleaned?
I don't have them cleaned every time. No, I wear it, and after a couple times, or if I get it dirty, I have it a dry clean. But I mean, shit, that's like $15 every time you get a suit dry clean.
It's better than walking into work with shit all over you.
That was the point.
And whatever.
I didn't know. It was either. Again, it looked a lot like chili.
All right, washy. Next time you'll be more careful. Next time, be more careful.
No shit, absolutely. Definitely, it cost me $15, but I did get away with it. It was kind of dark in most of the places I went, so no one noticed.
That's a way to go.
Something funny that happened to me this week. I don't know about you. We at least, Frank, have you asked any more questions about the bass? I don't want you to lose this opportunity.
No, you just cut it. You just cut in and cut it right in half and lost the train of thought between Jesse and I. It was going so great. We had the whole bass talk happening, and then you just jumped in and ruined it with your fucking, hey, I shit on myself story or whatever it is. Thanks a lot.
Thanks a lot, man.
Yeah. Hey, no problem there, fucking vibe killer.
And the lights went down in the room.
I'm sorry, guys. I'm gonna go dark. Yeah, I mean, I just kind of I love the way you play, Jesse. I love how you've I love your right hand. The way you hit the strings sounds. I don't like very many bass. I'm not like a bass player centric. I like when bass players play like I feel like I play when I'm feeling good. And I feel like I met a guy in Detroit who played in this obscure band, and he played the bass, and I was like, oh my God, the way that guy plays the fucking bass. And I didn't even care about the band. After they were done, I'm like, dude, I love the way you play. And he's like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, oh my God, it's perfect. It was weird, but you're kind of like that too. It seems like you're real heavy-handed with your right, but I would imagine that's the amp doing all the work. Are you heavy-handed on your right hand?
I'm incredibly heavy-handed. The right hand, I've actually earned the nickname Crab Claws.
Because like this?
Donald, the singer for Blisskrieg, he nicknamed me Crab Claws when he saw me playing, because I basically have to change my strings after every show because I will break them.
Right.
Not easy to break a bass string.
Well,
no, he digs in.
Yeah, I play the bass like it owes me money.
And Wu-Tang.
And I always do. But the right hand is my strong hand. my weakness as a bass player has always been my left hand, because I am not, let's just say I have not been properly schooled in a lot of
Right.
things, theory wise. As a matter of fact, I tell people that, I mean, I was in Tantric before I really even learned what the notes were called. Like if I was in Days of the New and somebody said, "Hey, play a G," I'd be like, "What the fuck is a G? What are you
Right.
talking
Show me.
about?"
First
Third-
string, 3 frets
third
up.
fret.
So I was so sort of behind the curve when it came to that stuff, because I didn't need it. You know, like I said, I mean, I grew up playing with Travis and Matt. We spoke our own language. We didn't need the outside
Right.
Anybody else?
that theory. So I was behind the curve on that stuff, and I still am to a certain degree. There's still, I mean, you know, I feel like I have a fairly good grasp on some scales now, but I don't know what any of them are called.
Right.
That's the left hand is my weakness. The right hand, that's my pimp hand.
Yeah.
You better
keep
give
it
me that
strong.
money.
And bass technique, people think it's the other way around. Bass technique is right hand. If you've got shitty right hand technique, you've got problems. You might be on the wrong instrument.
It's really the way that I explain it to people, because I have a lot of people who come up to me and ask me about bass playing, and I wish they wouldn't, because I would rather refer them. I'd be like, "Hey, why don't you go talk to Chip Adams? You know, why don't you go talk
Right.
to Kevin Garr? So you talk to somebody
Yeah.
who knows what the fuck they're doing, instead of asking me." But one thing that I do tell them is that when it comes to bass, if you're talking about philosophy of bass, which is the only thing I really have a grasp on, is you're basically a bridge. You are the thing that connects the drums to the guitar, and you hold the whole damn thing together.
Yeah.
And if you don't, you're not doing your job.
Yeah.
And you know, it doesn't matter. We had very clear conversations during the recording of the bass tracks on the Blisskrieg record, and even the writing of the bass lines. Like we sat in a circle. It was very kumbaya writing the Blisskrieg record. We sat in a circle and we really talked about things. And basically, you know, I told him my philosophy on the record was I didn't want people to really notice I was there.
Okay. Yeah.
Because if, you know, I mean, unless you're Rush, or Yes, or you, like, for the most part, if you're listening to a song and you're paying attention to the bass player's not doing his job.
Or the bass is too loud.
Yeah, obviously they're
Cut it down.
there are tone concerns, there's mixing concerns.
Yeah,
but the parts themselves, I've never been a super showy player, but I made a really I made a real effort to keep it kind of simple and really just do the song justice on each of these songs on the Blisskrieg record. And it's amazing the power that a run will have, or if you do something that's kind of cool, it's amazing the power it'll have if you only do it once in the song.
Right.
You know, you let the song be the song, and then every once in a while you'll throw in one little thing, and it's so powerful and tasteful if you do it that way.
Yeah.
In my opinion, again,
Instead of saying it's got to be there on every time that part comes around.
Yeah. It's all subjective, as music always is, but that's it's been largely my philosophy, whether I was playing, you know, you talk about right hand, you know, I've got the Steve Harris, you know, the gallop, I can do that with the 3 fingers. I've got all that stuff down pretty well. What most people don't realize, though, is that the Days of the New record, I used a pick on the.
I was just getting ready to ask that. Did you ever use a pick? Because it sounded like on the first album you did, but every time I see you play, you never use a pick.
I tell you what happened, dude. We got I got in the studio and I was playing with a pick, and I was like, man, it sounds really good. It makes it makes that brightness come through to sort of complement the acoustic guitars instead of drowning them out with just low frequency noise. You actually had something there to cut through.
Yeah.
So the pick worked, and then I got out in the live setting. And our first tour with Days of the New, we opened up for, I don't know whose idea this was.
Molly Hatchet.
No. Although we did open for Foghat one time. Our first run on for the Days of the New tour, we were the opening act for Kenny Wayne Shepherd, which is, of course, a blues act.
Right.
And we got out on that tour, and I was watching his bass player, and, you know, just some old black blues cat,
Right.
you know, who just sort of laid back in the pocket, and he wore his bass way up here. You know,
Chip Adams.
Yeah, had the bass way up here and just like, but he was using his fingers, and I was like, man, I got to bring some of that back. Basically, ever since then, I've been using my fingers. But that first Days of the New record, I was a pick guy, and I guess what, you know, the whole point of saying that was just to elaborate the fact that I've always been one of those people who I've always had that kind of philosophy where I don't want to do anything too flashy with that left hand, because I just feel like it's a distraction more than anything, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I found, you know, I'm not going to do a whole soliloquy here, but I found that I
Soliloquy?
Shut the hell up. I'm going to mute you. God damn it. No. I'm more comfortable when I record with a pick. But when I play live, I'm much more comfortable playing with my fingers. And it's like, I get something in, and obviously I'll record something with bass with fingers, but the relaxed way is with a pick. But live, if I've got a pick in my hand, I'm just like, get it out. I just can't take it. Can't take it all.
I always thought you played with a pick always.
I did both.
I know, but you always play with a pick until the song, whoever played the, you know, talking about cover songs. If it was not played with a pick, you didn't use a pick.
Right. I played them like
the songs were played. But when you're doing original stuff, you preferred recording with a pick, but you like playing with your fingers.
No, like with the bands like Ugly and Outspoken, I recorded most of that stuff with a pick, and I played it without anyway. So let's give Jesse some love. Talk about this Blisskrieg
Yes,
thing,
that's
man.
exactly where we're going. Jesse Vest joining us. You remember him from the band Days of the New, Tantric. He's also currently in the Louisville Crashers in his new band Blisskrieg. Their new album Remedy is available anywhere you want to find it on digital platforms. You can check out the song Inside Me on their Facebook page. It is badass. I love it. And I wanted to say this before we talk about, because I do want to get to Donald. I have some questions about Donald. I want to give him some love and the rest of the guys as well. But after listening to Inside Me, I have to say, if anyone ever thought that you guys were not the sound behind Days of the New and Tantric, all they have to do is listen to this fucking song, and you can tell whose sound that was being sang over top of.
I agree.
I'll just take that and take a little side detour on this because that's funny what you just said. I remember in Days of the New, when we came out with Days of the New, and we would go out and tour every once in a while. You know how I'm sure this has never happened to you guys, but you ever play a show and there's just one dude there that's kind of a jerk?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we would have every once in a while, there'd be a guy like who would wait in line at the end of the show to get an autograph. And then when he got up to us, he would say, man, you guys are just want to be Alice in Chains guys, blah, 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 blah.
Right. Why would you say, and he didn't know who he was saying it to either.
Well, you know, this was Days of the New. We were young, and like most of the time we blow it off. Sometimes we punch the guy. It was just sort of the way it was. But what I found funny, this actually relates directly to what you were just talking about. What I found funny is that when we left Days of the New and we went to Tantric, every once in a while there would be that jerk guy that show up at the fucking thing and said, "Man, you guys are just Days of the New wannabes."
Right.
Yeah.
Hey man, we are Days of the
New. Yeah, that would be my answer. It'd be like, do you dumb fuck? Do you not realize that we literally were Days of the New 6 months ago? That's who we are, you know? It's like, how do you not put those two together? But people, I'll say that there's a challenge, especially in this day and age with attention spans the way they are. There's a challenge being Blisskrieg because we are a band without a brand. And so, you know, we are, I mean, like right now you can't see them, but I've got, you know, gold records on the wall right here. I got platinum records. And
not mine, but
like, where'd Frank go?
He'll be back. He's taking a break. Oh, he's listening now.
Well, but what I was going to say is, like, I've sold freaking
a few million albums.
Yeah. I've sold a lot of records, but nobody knows who the hell Jesse Vest is, and nobody knows who Blisskrieg is.
Yeah.
So the challenge is to reintroduce us as a project. You have to spell it out that, okay, yes, we were 3/4 of Days of the New, and we were 3/4 of Tantric, and now we are 3/4 of Blisskrieg. And if people who are paying attention, they can hear what you're talking about when you listen to Inside Me. We are, while I'd like to think we have evolved some and the music is not always the same, there's a definite through line there, and you can connect the dots, and when Matt's playing drums.
Dude, you took the fucking words out of my mouth, because as soon as I heard the song, I was like, well, the harmony is like, well, there's Matt Tall. That's definitely Matt Tall's voice. No one sounds like, I don't care who he's
Matt Tall's voice.
No,
yeah. I'm sorry.
Matt?
I'm Todd Whitener. When you hear Todd sing, you know that's Todd. I don't care who he's singing with. You 100% hear that harmony. You know that's him singing the harmony.
Yeah.
You know how hard it is to be that distinctive singing harmonies, and to be able to hear something and go, oh, I know exactly who's. It's like, and this is I'm not joking, but Bryan Adams on "Don't Forget Me When I'm Gone." You knew who that was.
Yeah.
Sting singing harmonies on "Money for Nothing." You knew exactly who that was. You know when it's Todd fucking Whitener. Then the drums come in, and I'm like, oh, there's Matt. That's definitely Matt. It's sure as hell Matt Tall playing drums. I mean, nobody plays like that and has that sound. And then you hear you come in, and there's one little run you do, like right before, I think it's kind of, I don't know if it's pre-chorus, but right before you get into the chorus, you do a little run. I'm like, well, that's Jesse. Definitely Jesse. Then you hear the three of you all playing, like, well, there's that sound.
Yeah.
And, there's no other three people in the world that can make that sound. Because when I was doing some research, and I looked it up on Facebook, or not Facebook,
I bet you there are. I bet you the guys in Days of the New could make that sound.
but they're no Tantric.
Yeah, you're no Tantric, man.
I was looking up on Google, and like one of the
posers.
It said 3/4 of Days of the New in Tantric's new album. I was like, I wonder if they're offended by that. But no, I think that's a perfect way to say it.
Well, I think that from now on, no matter what we do moving forward, we're going to keep the moniker Blisskrieg, just so we don't have to rebuild ourselves every damn time we come back around. You know what I mean?
That's you own that name. Hey,
so,
by the way, Donald, you're on notice. I'm just kidding. I know. I'm sure he knows I'm kidding. Tell me about Donald, because I know he was in another band. I probably should know more. But how did you all get with Donald? And first of all, what's his last name?
Donald Carpenter. He is just a phenomenal guy, an amazing singer. He's got a voice like nobody.
Oh, he does.
Like, he's got this really crazy, almost like a Paul Rogers kind of thing that goes on with his voice. So much character, so much range. He's just amazing.
And he shows up for work.
Oh yeah. He'll show up, and when he shows up, he's sober.
What?
Yes.
Hey, what?
Can you believe it?
Not from the last two, I can. But go ahead.
Yeah. So, Donald was in actually two bands that were really successful and really great bands. He was in a band called Submersed that put out a couple of records, and he was in a band called I Empire that also put out a couple of records.
Oh, I remember I Empire.
Yeah. So the dude's got pipes for days. He just can sing like nobody's business. But his real gift that I feel, and I think it's really it expresses itself really well on this record, is he has this gift of melody, where we'd be sitting, like I told you, we'd be sitting in the Kumbaya circle here, and Todd would start playing something, or I would start playing something, and as soon as the riff sort of revealed itself, it was like he instantly had this melody for it.
Fucking hate people like that.
Oh,
I really do. They drive me insane. Man. It is. People don't understand how hard it is to write the melody. I mean, there's a bass part, there's a guitar part. You might have, nuances here and there, but then you got to come up with an entirely different part that matches those two things. It's been the one thing about me, my songwriting, is I've never been good at writing melodies. I write the hell out of some riffs, and me. It's all about me. I'm on fire. Put me out. So no, I find that amazing about him, and his voice is amazing. Now, how did you guys just come across each other?
Well,
I mean,
well, so they
me.
He's like trying to explain his band concept, and you're like, well, so I write these riffs in these songs too, so I know exactly what you mean.
I said one fucking word.
I'm in my studio writing them as I.
Hey, you see my studio behind me?
Yeah, I see your platinum records on the wall too.
Oh, it's a CD. It's actually a Guns N'
Oh, sorry.
Roses. It's not even mine.
Did you just glue a bunch of Eagles CDs together back there? Or?
No, I won that on the radio before I was on the radio.
They're AOL CDs.
Yeah. No, that's my Columbia record company. I got 1 cent and I got all of those.
Oh, that's hilarious.
How did you guys meet each other, and how did he become part of your host project?
Well, okay, so let's just drop the you all, and let's just say Todd, because Todd is the one who made initial contact. If we flash back to 2019 when the world was normal, I was, of course, knee deep in the Crashers. We were playing God knows how many shows a year, so I had no time to do anything.
And you were working full time, weren't you? Probably.
Oh yeah, basically I never stop. I sleep and then I get up and I move all day until I sleep again. So, so crazy busy. I had no time to get involved in any kind of project. Matt, without, I don't want to make this the focus of it, but without going into too much detail, you know, everybody knows Matt's had his struggles in the past, with the things that he struggles with, and we'll leave it there. So 2019, Matt and I were both sort of out of the picture. Todd loved that first Submersed record particularly. He liked all of Donald's stuff, but he loved that first Submersed record, and he really I don't know if you guys know this or not, but Todd, for the last however many years, has been touring with do you know who Dierks Bentley is?
Yeah, our friend is his tour manager, isn't he?
You talking about Jay?
Jay Ballinger, yeah.
Oh yeah. So well, Jay's probably the one that got Todd the gig. I don't know, but Todd's been out with Dierks for years.
Yeah,
and
I did not know that.
After a what I was told is a particularly taxing show for Todd, he got in the bunk on the bus and he turned on his playlist, and that Submersed record happened to come on, and he said he just got to thinking about Donald and thinking, well, you know, this guy hasn't done anything new in a long time. I wonder what he's up to. Scott, are you doing drugs?
No, man, come on.
As far as you know.
I'm just saying. I know you guys don't release a video version of this, right? It's all audio. I just want your listeners to know you're doing some fishy stuff on the screen here.
We're doing
I'm masturbating. That's fine.
We do like,
I can't masturbate.
That's completely acceptable.
No, I'm not doing drugs. I'm jacking off.
Listen, especially when I'm speaking, because I know that my voice does that to people.
Stop it.
We release the upskirt cam of us while we're on the show.
We used to have a guy in a wheelchair that would take upskirts at our shows.
So anyway, Todd.
All right, here we go.
Todd's in the buck. It's Submersed.
Yes, and so he starts doing some online research. He starts, you know, looking up on Instagram. Finds an account for Donald on Instagram, which had just been started like a few days earlier, because Donald is not a social media guy, really. He doesn't really like it. So Todd just out of the blue sends a message saying, "Hey, man, you know, I'm a big fan. I really love what you've done in the past. If you ever want to get together and write something, you know, just give me a ring." And pretty much immediately, Donald replied, from what I understand, immediately. And they struck up a conversation talking about it. And
did he live in Nashville?
Todd?
No, Donald.
No, and that's the next part of the story that makes it sort of. Here's another word for you, Scott. Serendipitous.
That word I fucking know.
Okay.
He just thinks it's a girl.
It's not.
Now coming to the stage, serendipity.
That's really good. I'm gonna use that sometime.
Yeah, you can have it.
Thank you.
So Donald actually lives in Fort Worth, or not in Fort Worth, but somewhere in the Dallas-Fort Worth area.
Prairie Village.
Somewhere down in that area. But, you know, they got to talking, and they were talking about, you know, maybe we should get together sometime. And he said, Todd asked him where he lived. He said, well, I live, you know, somewhere in DFW whatever. And Todd looked at his schedule, and the bus he was in actually was going to Dallas Fort Worth. at that moment.
You got to be shitting me.
And
That is
so
definitely serendipity.
yeah. So he basically was like, listen, you're not going to believe this, but I'm heading. Do you want to come see Dierks Bentley play tomorrow night? Because I'm on my way to Fort Worth for a show. So Donald and his wife came out to the Dierks show, and they, to be honest, that was sort of, in my understanding, that was where it was left for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they were trying to work out a schedule to be able to get together and do something. And then, of course, like we all know, the world ended last year.
Right.
So they had more time. I had more time. Like everybody had time. We got
Matt did time.
Well, Matt he sort of got himself in a good spot. Again, this is no secret.
So proud of that dude, man.
It's a matter of public record. Everybody knows what
Yes,
Matt's been up to.
And it's so proud of
But
that cat, man.
right now, yeah, I've known Matt literally my whole life, and I am so proud of him right now because he has just really. It's like I feel like this project did so much for him. Something really to focus on, to sort of block out that negative stuff that was always tracking him down. It really. I'm so proud of him.
Old and busted, brand new hotness.
Hey,
He's
Scott.
brand new hotness.
Hey, Scott, thank you for making me edit that part out.
Okay. Think it was bad?
Yeah, I don't want to get into that.
What are we
It's-
talking about?
Well, it's
You
just
didn't like that I said Matt did time. It's fine.
Right. Yeah.
Well, listen.
Well, I've already paused
you
it.
can-
I'm gonna cut it out, and I just want to
Okay.
start it.
You can
start whenever you
can
want.
You can edit it whatever you want, but I do want you two guys to know this is something that me and Matt and Todd specifically have all talked about. We've cleared it with Matt. Matt realizes, like I said, this is a matter of public record. If people want to know this shit, they're going to know this shit. So I try not to make it a focus, but
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie about it and
Yeah.
say that he was, in the fucking Peace Corps or something.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And the only reason I said that is I brought it up because I don't want to. It's not Matt on here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just same way. I'm not going to say, well, Jimmy John said this, and then I just
Gotcha.
don't want to.
No.
I don't.
He just made a sandwich. Yeah, and I didn't mean it in bad taste. You guys know that. Go ahead. We
I
can go
know.
back first.
Yeah.
Where do you want us to lead on?
No,
Or
no,
come on.
We've been recording back.
Oh, sorry.
I can have my
Great.
choice. Yeah. So
So anyway,
Anyway.
the lawyer says,
there's the way. That's why he calls me the producer, Jesse.
100%. He knows when he lets me go out, and then he reels me back in if I need it. And sometimes
it's
I
good
do.
to have somebody.
I
like
just,
that.
man, that joke was sitting right there. I had to tee it up, buddy. I couldn't help myself.
So anyway, it was left as it was after they got together and met.
And yeah, then the next step, of course, is here comes our buddy COVID, saying that nobody can play live shows anymore. And what do musicians do when they can't play live? They say, well, let's just go sit in a room somewhere and write some songs. And that's what we did. And we had let me just speak for me personally. I had no inclination, not an inkling of an idea that we were going to make an album. Todd presented it to me as, hey, man, I'm thinking about doing a project with this guy. You want to come down to Nashville, hang out, and have a couple of drinks and work on some song ideas and see what happens. We went down to Nashville, and there was immediate chemistry, personally and musically, and like within 20 minutes, there's a song on the record called "Wherever You Go." And within 20 minutes, we had the entire song written. Musically, lyrically, everything was written. I mean, obviously, it took us a while to record it and get everything right. But within the first half an hour, I knew, okay, this is actually something. This is not just me, hanging out with friends for the weekend. This is actually something that's going to really happen. So,
Right on. That's a cool feeling, isn't it?
yeah, it's rare, and you appreciate it and you recognize it when you're presented with it, because it's. I've been really fortunate that I've had a really great career but that's not to say I haven't been in some really turd bands, know? Where you show up and you're like, what am I doing here?
Right.
You know,
Right.
and I would never say any names or throw anybody under the bus like that, but I think every musician who's worth his salt will know what I'm talking about when you just say sometimes you show up and you're in a room full of people and you know it's not working and it's not worth your time and you need to step away.
Right. And there's no amount of, and money's not going to fix it. Good money's not going to fix that. That's just a matter of it ain't right.
But we'll pay you more. Nah, you keep it. Keep it. Nah, that's it's not about the money, man. It's not me, it's you. I mean, it's you, it's not me.
And luckily in the music business, there's not that much money anyway. So
yeah, that's true.
So this time around, doing it, marketing the way that you're marketing it, was it a lot easier because you had more control? You know, you got your web guy, you got our ideas, we're doing this. I mean, you didn't have everybody sticking their fucking nose in it or their hands in it.
No, you know, we entertained some conversations with some people when we were getting close to releasing, because the whole thing, we did the entire record ourselves. We produced it. You know, everything was done by the four of us. And so when we were looking toward releasing, we did have some conversations with a few people, you know, record companies and other people who thought, you know, maybe they wanted to be part of this or at least wanted to have the talk.
Or think about, did you all license it to anybody or is it fully in-house?
It is 100% fully, we own it all.
Oh, right on. So nice. All right.
So yeah, so we own the masters, we own everything, we own it. And, which is good because I've never had that before.
Yeah. That's really something that in the past only existed for the upper echelon of recording artists. If you're a generation and mover and shaker, and you can that kind of one of those generational artists, then you know it's a leverage that you had. Bobby Dylan had it, Metallica had it, all these people had it. So
yeah, you got to spend a good 10, 15 years getting screwed and still be super successful, and then they'll start working with you. But you know, but anyway,
Bobby
we were having these talks with people about, you know, perhaps having somebody come in and helping us. And the people we wanted to work with apparently weren't interested in us.
Right.
And the people who wanted to work with us, we weren't really interested in. So it made the most sense for us to do this ourselves. And I had somebody ask me the other day, I was doing an interview with a radio station. I don't even remember where they were, but it was like a terrestrial radio station, if you can believe that.
What? I don't know what those are.
They still exist. It's like Bigfoot. I don't know. But they were asking me, you know, they said, Jesse, most of the time albums come out on Friday. Why are you releasing yours on a Monday? And I was just like, dude, because that's what we wanted to do.
Dude, they used to come out on Tuesday.
You know, they used to come out on Tuesday. Now they come out on Friday.
Crazy.
But the Blisskrieg record's coming out on Monday because that's what we fucking want to do. You know,
it's the beginning of the work week.
Awesome.
Because we're grown ups and we can eat cereal for dinner if we want. You know, like there's no rules. And that's been the most, not the most, but it's been a very gratifying thing about this whole process is that we can do what we want. We don't have some producer over here telling us, oh no, you need to cut that you know, that bridge in half. You need to do. There was no producer. There's no A&R guy.
There's no PR.
Yeah.
There's no guy with a suitcase outside your recording studio waiting to sell somebody something.
Well, yeah.
I mean, it was standard issue back then.
Yeah. It really, it's the empowerment of what would not have been possible 25 years ago. You know, the digital age has made this accessible for everyone, and I realize that that doesn't necessarily imply that you're going to be successful at it just because you have access to it. But I'm very appreciative of the way that the industry runs now because there's so much more freedom. And I feel like this time, if this project is a failure in some way,
Mhm.
I can't blame anybody but us.
Okay.
Now,
And
and if it's
what blame would there be though? I mean, you did this and that people didn't want it, but you still did it. It's you. I don't see how you could even say those words.
no, well, what I'm getting at is, let's just say, for example, the second Tantric record. Let's say that it wasn't as successful as it could have been or should have been, but because it wasn't, and I could theoretically and actually, in truth, point fingers at some people in the record company who made some bad calls, and that alleviates me of that responsibility. But but that's not taking place here. If this thing shoots off like a rocket, I get the credit. If it takes a nosedive and nobody listens to it but my Aunt Shirley,
Call back.
then it's really I'm the one who takes the blame for that. You know, I like the ownership. I do like that. And I mean, I don't mean ownership of as in I own the masters. I mean ownership as in we are the ones steering this vessel, and we're to blame, and it's all on us.
Yeah, sweat. You got the sweat equity in there. I mean, it's literally part of you.
Yeah.
And you know, you've got you all have a unique. I think I wouldn't say an advantage. You all are in a unique position where you have all these records to to bring people up to where you are now. It's not just I know them from Days of the New. It's like they can look back and have a history with you. You have that much history with people anyway, is what I'm trying to say. And bringing them in to listen to you now, which seemed like, especially in the digital age when you can just pull it up, instantly. I think that's an advantage, especially for a band. I say band for a group of guys, and people know who you are. People know that the guys that were in Days of the New were in Tantric, and the people who knew Tantric are going to know this.
Except
band.
that one fucking guy.
Right, but you've got that almost built-in familiarity with a lot of people that they'll hit that add button or that subscribe or download it or whatever it is that they do. That's a really cool position to be in. Most people don't have that.
Well, yeah, I think that that's the double-edged sword it definitely is. That is the case. There are a lot of people who know who we were and who are interested in knowing who we are, and I'm thankful for those people. I gotta take it back to what I was saying earlier, though, that there are a lot of people, especially younger rock fans, guys in their 20s who are diehard rock fans, and all they know is, Shinedown and stuff like that, and they didn't really live back in those days when we were doing these things. That's the struggle, is to reintroduce people and say, okay, you remember that song that your parents listened to in the 90s? That was us too, and so we have a long history. There are pros and cons to it.
That's crazy to hear you say that. That's a song your parents listened to. That song your parents slow dance at their wedding to.
Yeah.
Touch, feel and stand. That was us.
Yeah, if that's your wedding song, you got problems.
Yeah. The Downtown was the father-daughter dance. All right, I'm sorry.
Now, are you getting any? I mean, some states are starting to open up. Some places are doing shows. Are you getting any promoters trying to book any, either one-offs or any kind of mini tours or anything like that yet?
Are you talking about Blisskrieg?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, we Blisskrieg. We basically, on our website, we outright say we're not accepting offers for bookings at this point. We're just not even contemplating it.
Really?
I mean, it goes back to I don't have to. He doesn't want to live that life again.
Well, I get it.
And he's got so much other stuff going on.
Here's the thing: everything's negotiable.
Oh yeah.
Everything really is negotiable. But what I know of the rock industry, even established bands, quote unquote established bands, like for example the newest incarnation of Tantric. Maybe I'm not going to use them as an example. Let's just say I know of examples of bands who are touring currently that don't make what I make in the Crashers.
Right.
You know what I
Like,
mean?
Yes.
like Tantric and Flaw.
Yeah, there are plenty of bands, and they're going out and they're playing for I don't know the numbers because I'm not really in close contact, but they're probably going out and playing for $2,000 or $2,500 a night, or maybe even
Right.
as much as $5,000. I'm not really interested in that.
Right. That's
And
but
I hate to throw numbers out, but if somebody sends us an email at the Blisskrieg page and says, "Hey, we'll pay you $20,000 to drive over here and play this show," okay, sure, let's talk about
Dick
that.
Clark just called.
But the rest of, I mean, the other stuff is just forgotten glory. That's like the new version of Tantric. I'll say it, shit like that. That's just people who were too afraid to go. Okay, this phase of my life is done.
I saw that show. That's exactly what I thought.
I mean, it's like just move on. There is life after rock and roll. There is life after touring and being the cool guy. I mean, it's just, I don't know.
Well, I don't have much. I'd be lying if I said I had much of a relationship with Hugo. I don't really have much one anymore.
Right.
But I still consider he and I to be on good terms. I mean, we have messaged back and forth a few times on social media over the years. I'm reluctant to say anything bad about him or anybody who he's touring with. I just want to spell it out pretty loudly that I'm not really interested in that kind of deal.
Right.
Especially when I may be getting too far in the weeds here. I may be saying
it's all right.
I should.
No, you know what I'm saying, man.
But I guess what I'm saying is that if
there are things that are involved in the act of being a touring band and traveling musicians that aren't conducive to a lot of great things in life.
Well, and when you couple it with the fact that, like I said, Matt and I are Hoosiers, Todd's in Tennessee, you got Donald in Texas. How the hell are we even going to put together a couple of weeks to rehearse and get this material ready to take it on the road?
This sponsor of It's Gonna Get Weird is sponsored by music. So sponsored by the music. Go rent a place to. What's the name of the damn place we used to rehearse at, Frank? Damn it! I ruined my own joke. Don't worry about it.
Go ahead. Don't let him interrupt you anymore there.
Yeah, please. I'm sorry.
Well, I think I hope I made my point because I think I was pretty much done with it. I'm just there's a lot that goes into putting a show together. It's not just, hey, we got a record, let's go play it live.
Right.
You got to be able to play it live. And let me tell you what, I don't know if you guys have listened to the song New Age.
I haven't yet.
On the Blisskrieg record. There's a song called New Age that was a little embarrassing for me because it took me fucking forever to get that thing right. It is hard, man. These songs, they're not all super easy. I mean, there's some really difficult, intricate parts in here. And if I were ever going to consider going on the road, number one, somebody'd have to pay me a good amount of money. Number two, I would have to make sure I'm worth that much damn money. And that's going to take time. It's going to take, energy. I definitely am not saying it's never going to happen. I'm just saying we're not thinking about it right now. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. And there are a lot of cogs in that wheel, man.
Yeah.
Just not even getting just barely past the music. Logistically, there's a lot of cogs for this.
Marriage, kids, different cities.
Yeah. There's nothing really. There's nothing I enjoy more than just being in my own house and sleeping in my bed.
This COVID thing has not been too bad for me. I don't know about you. I mean, well, that's probably not a good thing to say to Frank, but I enjoy being at home, but I do have shit to do. But yeah, I love being home. I don't miss traveling at all.
Is that what you did? You traveled? I thought you stayed local.
No, we played 27 cities.
He's talking about your profession.
Profession? No, now I do. No. Okay. But I mean, but even with what I do now, I'm somewhere every day, all day long from, 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock, whenever I leave the house until sometimes 10, 11 o'clock. No, I've enjoyed the time at home and time with my family, which I never thought I'd say. I started farming. I got my in-laws, never had that kind of relationship. So no, I 100% agree. What are you going to do? Get in a 15-passenger van, meet in Nashville, and then all go to Texas? Or, somebody's going to fly in on their own dime. I get it. No, I mean, who wants that at this age? I don't.
Yeah. And again, let me let me just state for the record that I speak only for me. I don't
Yes.
speak for any of the guys in the
Right.
band. This is just my own perspective on it. To be honest, we had lots and lots and lots of conversations about the music and the recording and the business plan. We've talked very little about performing live. We've said out loud that it would be great to do it, but the reality of it, we have done zero planning. We're trying to figure out how to get freaking vinyls pressed. You know what I mean?
Hey, man.
I'm familiar with that kind of conversation or lack of conversation. Hey, can I interject something here real quick? Kind of a would you rather? This week, would you rather be Tiger Woods or Donald Trump?
Holy shit. Ooh. Oh, shit.
Tiger Woods, for all intents and purposes, his career's over. I mean, he's come back from how many back surgeries? And now
4.
he's got crushed ankles. Both ankles are crushed. Kind of.
One's a compound fracture.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Would you rather be one this week? Just this week.
For 1 week?
Just for the
Here's
week.
the thing. I am if nothing else on this earth, I am a pragmatic guy.
Rather be.
I'm very practical. And so coming at that question from a practical perspective, who would I rather be? I would rather be the 40-something athlete as opposed to this, almost octogenarian
Right.
ex-politician.
Okay.
Tiger Woods, he might be in some pain, but I still feel like he's going to be all right.
As a human, maybe. But I'm not sure that he's going to ever play competitive golf again. I mean, he was just coming back from this surgery and they're like, oh, come on. And now he can't even stand up for a year.
Well, this is
At least.
when I'm approaching this question as somebody who has never, ever, ever watched anybody play golf ever.
Right.
So I'm not a sports fan in general.
Right.
I'm looking at the human perspective.
Right on.
So
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and be Tiger.
I'm picking Tiger, which, Scott, that means you got to be Trump.
I have no problem doing that. I figured that was coming. The devil's advocate. Somebody's got to do it. Hey, you get to do anything you fucking. Everybody hates you. You're an asshole, but it's for 1 week. Hang on. Let me finish. It is for 1 week, 7 days, however many hours. I don't do math very good, and neither does Donald Trump.
You can be pompous, and a week to be pompous. So how would that be any different? How would that be any different for you?
Because I would have tons of money, and people would actually do what I said. And secondly, lots of Diet Coke, lots of McDonald's. I get to bang Melania.
Do you really think that happens?
Play a lot of golf.
You really think he? Hey, why are you yelling at me? You think he has relations with her? You think he? You really? Scott, look at me. Look at me. Look at my eyes. You really think that he? You really think that he has relations with that woman?
I think she might,
Mrs. Trump.
I think she might occasionally have to do it.
Donald, did you have sexual relations with that woman, Mrs. Trump?
I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
Man, and Clinton's finger is crooked like his stupid old pecker. Like his Arkansas pecker. I did not have sexual relations with it. His dick probably looks like a J. That's why
Jesse, this is what happens when people aren't here, by the way.
Listen, I was told this was a classy program.
Oh, no. I never
that's
said
the only
anything
reason
like
I agreed to come on here.
I've never said anything like that.
So we got two Tigers and a Trump. That sounds like a joke punchline.
It does kind of, yeah, it does sound like a damn punchline.
All right, I just wanted to hear.
No, I love that. Who would you rather be? Mary Jo Kopechne
or Mary Jo Buttafuoco?
Well, Mary Jo Buttafuoco is still alive,
yeah,
but she has a hole in her face.
Did you ever? Did Kim ever tell you the Mary Jo Buttafuoco joke? Joe, did you hear about Mary Jo Buttafuoco? You got to look at. She gets blowjobs on the side. I was like, when she told me that joke, this is like 20 years ago. I was like, you're in a whole different league now. That's the best joke I've ever heard. Long Island.
Oh my God. We met Kim she opened, not open. We were at the state fair together. We all had different slots. and they were playing before us. Is the easiest way to say it, but it was our PA, so someone had to run the PA for them when they played, for the whole week at the fair. And man, her and Doug and our band just instantly bingo. We instantly became best friends. They are the two of the funniest. Well, one is now, but they were the two of them are so funny together and with us and in company. And came it to this day, I still text her all the time. Love her to absolute death. I'd kill somebody for that girl. We're gonna have you back, Jesse. I mean, we still haven't even talked about the Crashers. I really want to talk to you all about Kevin McCreary. I mean, there's so much more we can talk about. Would you come back and join us?
Yeah.
Using my own another callback. Aunt Shirley would be proud. Would you come back sometime when you get some free time? Somewhere down the road?
Dude.
And we got so much more to talk about. It's great. I mean, we are running on we almost did another 2-hour podcast. We did the same thing last week. We just have so much fun laughing and shit. We can't not do it. So you'll be back on?
Why is Frank making that face?
I'm trying to see exactly. I'm trying to match up exactly how long we've gone versus how long we've been recording. So I'm trying to do the math.
Oh,
I'm terrible at math.
So am I. I went to Charleston High School.
At least you went to high school.
I finally passed the first year of pre-algebra as a senior. It was the half credit I needed.
I gotta have pre-algebra.
I was in trigonometry before I was out of pre-algebra. How fucked up is that?
Hot arithmetic talk.
Yeah, it was terrible.
He is Jesse Vest, the band Blisskrieg. Remedy is the new album.
There is no T in Blisskrieg. It's Blisskrieg.
I can't believe I said that. I actually wrote it. I've said it 5 times. I've written it 5 times already, and I actually wrote Blisskrieg. I can't believe I did that. I'm so sorry, Jesse.
Hey,
Jesse,
Take you anywhere.
He sent me your email address yesterday, and I looked at it, and I'm like, there's something about this that's not right. I'm looking at it, I'm like, you sure this email address is, it was JESSIE. I was like, that's the feminine version. I think
know that.
You want to check that spelling on there?
Something tells me Scott doesn't pay attention to much.
You'd be surprised.
You'd be, oh yeah.
I tell you anything you want to know about bourbon or wine, though, motherfucker. How about that?
He's like a Mark Maxwell. Oh yeah, it's gonna be great.
Oh, don't you ever fucking say that to me. Ever fucking say that to me.
Don't worry. It's going to be great. No. Yeah. This is his email address.
Ever fucking say that. Anybody.
Oh, that was good.
Oh,
God. Bravo.
Oh, he's a hell of a singer and a hell of a guitar player.
Bravo. Chef's kiss.
Listen, I love Mark Maxwell.
Yes.
Glad you do.
And so does
Glad you do.
I know Mark Maxwell, and you, sir, are no Mark Maxwell.
No. Thank you. I appreciate that.
We love Mark.
Jesse Vest from the band Blisskrieg. The new album is called Remedy. Check out one of the singles from the song or from the album Inside Me. It's on Facebook. You can get it right now. If you want to just go ahead and download the whole album, it's available on damn near any digital platform. And Aunt Shirley's new record drops coming up on Monday because she wants to follow in your footsteps. It's going to get weird 369 at gmail.com at getweirdpc is where you can find us on Twitter. We're now available on Facebook as well and Spotify. And like new albums today, we will drop another episode to you next Friday. Frank Green, Scott Clark, it's going to get weird. Thank you to Jesse Vest. We'll talk to y'all soon. Good.